Hi guys. Hey Clint. I'll fix my hair. Sorry about my horsey voice. Alex is here.
Hey guys.
We've just been out doing a bit of target shooting, obviously sighting in the 17s, and we got just a little bit of info on the ATN4KPRO 5-20 versus the, what's yours?
The new PARD 008 LRF P, I think it is.
Yep. So ATN versus the PARD, and so at the moment we're at 66 metres from the target. Hey Peter.
Hey bud.
So we're at 66 metres from the target, and I'll get Alex to speak about what he thought between his PARD and my ATN. Yeah. What do you reckon?
Well, PARD versus ATN, they're completely different really. Trying to compare the 5-20 ATN to the PARD they're two different ball games. Daylight, the ATN is definitely going to win over the PARD. A much clearer, much crisper picture. As you start to get to dusk, what it is now, you find the PARD still a little bit blurry, still pixelated, will actually pick up a lot more colour than the ATN. And then as you switch over to nighttime, obviously the ATN smashes it out, as in distance-wise. The PARD close-wise, much better picture. You're much crisper, clearer. But for distance, the ATN will smash it. We'll try to get some footage for it a bit later. Hopefully we can get something tonight.
Yeah. Also, what we were discovering, because I've obviously had a look through the PARD as well, and because it's only got 2 times zoom, so you've got its base, which is what, 6
and then 13,
but then you get the little pip window.
Yeah, so picture-in-picture window comes up in it, so it doubles what's actually there.
Yeah, so it comes to like say 26 times zoom.
Yeah.
Like
it's 26 times zoom, but it's digital zoom.
Yeah.
It's not optical zoom, so it's just a blow up of that picture.
And while that's good, like it does give you that extra. Sorry, I just got to take these earbuds out. Gives you the extra, view. The thing is, it is very small up the top, so it's not your whole screen that's getting that 26 times zoom. So it's still only just a little bit at the top. So I don't know. That's what I first might have seen. Whereas with the ATN, you certainly can zoom right into. I mean, you can do extended zoom, so you can zoom into 50 times. And yeah, I mean, while it's of course it's blurry because it's digital zoom, you can still see it
great, yeah,
without a problem. So, so far, I know. I don't want to be biased, but yeah, the ATN is looking better.
But again, trying to compare them, you've got a much bigger scope, longer, more weight.
Yeah.
The PARD is compact; it's all in one. If you're just doing close range shooting at night, it's got the laser built in.
Yeah. So mine's definitely heavier. Mine's 1.5 kilos with the ABL on it, which is a rangefinder. Whereas
it's around 700.
The PARD's 700 with everything included. Plus, you do obviously have to add your infrared lasers or lights or whatever on top as well. If you have any questions, guys, whack them up. Happy to answer. I don't know. I also think that with the one-shot zero, I don't know how you were going with yours.
It's okay. The one-shot zeroing is a similar thing to the ATN with the PARD. You take a shot or two. You go into the settings. You go to move the dot. You aim up to where you were. You start to move the dot. It'll take an instant picture, and then you can move the crosshairs to where your shot is. Obviously, when you start shooting out at 50, 100 metres, it's very hard to keep that crosshair right where you need to be to move all the crosshairs over. So, you can take a couple of shots, but I think on the ATN it's slightly easier to do.
Yeah. Now with yours, you had taken it off and then put it back on again.
Yeah, so when I got the part, tried to put it on, realised I have a Weaver rail and it needed Picatinny rail. So you had to actually remove a little adjuster inside the mount. Anyway, got through that, put the part on, went to go take some shots, and it was shooting about 1 metre too low. So I had to take the mount back off, and you actually have to shim the part. I think a lot of people are finding this. They have to put some shims inside the bracket. The shims that were included weren't enough. Lucky we have 3D printers, and we could print some shims up, and you just slide them inside the back of the bracket, and it points it down so that you're shooting up a bit further.
Yeah.
So,
whereas my 1.0, obviously, I just changed the ATN to it today. I only had a little target, narrow target that we were shooting at. So luckily, under my first shot, I actually shot the wire on the fence. So I was able to see where I'd shot, which was really handy. Brought it straight back in, and I was near on perfect. Yeah. So certainly the 1.0 does work fine if you can find your first shot. Yeah, without a problem. I've also now just loaded in the profile. So because you got the ballistics data, loaded in the profile for the 17. So now I'll be able to just switch from the 17 to the 250. What I also did notice, and it was amazing, so obviously we were just at 25 metres when we first started in, just make sure you're on the board, whatever else. So that was all fine. I had it written, in my ballistics data at 25 metres. So we both come back to the 66 metres.
Yeah.
And I thought, rightio, I'll just turn the ballistics calculator on and see what it actually does, how close it gets us. So turned it on, and yeah, it was pretty much not far off, certainly within culling range.
So that's one of the big differences between the ATN and the PARD is the ATN has the ballistics calculator. You can put in the profile of your ammunition, and well, we've seen today it actually works. Within reason, it actually works.
I've taken a photo, and I'll put that up later. It certainly it works, because then what I done the next shot, I turned the ballistics calculator off, and you will see the difference in how far off the shot actually was. And I mean, you definitely would have missed the target if that hadn't been on. So obviously I've re-zeroed it in at 66 metres because, I mean, that's sort of our range. And if it's in where you're normally shooting, you want to zero it in there and then turn your ballistics calculator on, click of a button every rabbit or whatever, and you're going to be basically on target. So
those that don't know, the ballistics calculator works by using the Rangefinder,
which is the ABL unit.
So it's taking into account how far you are and the profile of your bullet.
So the ballistics coefficiency, the foot per second, the grain. So you put all of those in. You can save, I think it's up to 7 or 8 different profiles on the actual scope itself, and then you can also save it to the SIM card as well. Now, Jason's just got a question here. What about the mount on the PARD? Seeing people having issues with losing zero with a slight bump with those.
Look, yeah, I think that's possible. I think in the new version, the P version that's in Australia at the moment, they have addressed it. They have improved the mount just a little bit better. And
also, I mean, that could be to do with the shim as well.
Absolutely.
Having to use the shim.
Using plastic shim inside it and using the shims, if they're bumped or moved, I mean, that's possible.
Because, I mean, you can only get it so tight with that shim if that shim
so far,
moves.
We haven't had an issue, but, when time
so
will
possibly.
Tell. But, I suppose it's like any scope. If you bump it enough, you're gonna be affecting it.
So, yeah. So basically, this is ATN 4K 5 to 20. this here is the laser rangefinder. The difference between the ABL1500 and the ABL1000 is simply that it's 1,000 feet or 1,500 feet that it can range find to. I mean, not that I've ever shot out to 1,500 feet, but I mean, that was the only one that was available at the time. So with this here, I simply press this one button when I'm on my target, it brings up a little laser beam, and you're good to go basically with that ballistics calculator turned on. You can turn it off if you don't want to use it, but I mean, I've just proven to myself today that I need to get into that because it's amazing the difference that it makes. So whereas we'll just come around here. This is the PARD unit. So with the PARD, you've simply got this. You can only click it once or another time because you're at 6 times, which is base, or 13 times zoom, and then you can choose in it to have the
yeah, so
pit window.
That's a big difference between them, between the ATN and the PARD. The ATN, you can go up in increments. The PARD has only got 6 time or 13 time. 6 time, 13 time. And obviously inside the picture-in-picture on the screen that you can see, you will have, if you are at 6 times, you will have a tiny little picture at 12 times. And if you're at 13 times, you'll have a tiny little picture that's at 26 times. So it's only two sets, really, compared to the ATN that you've got increments you can slowly go up and down.
Peter, how much for what? Which one are you talking about? And then also with the PARD, you're adjusting here. You're adjusting your, is that your focus?
Yeah, so that's your focus there.
So say if you have, well, one thing, you can't really have a torch mounted there. No, sorry. When your torch is mounted here, it's just so inconvenient with your buttons, with your focus, all of that. So Alex is going to have one mounted down here, but you certainly don't want to use those. It's too awkward. Would you buy another PARD?
If they were cheap enough, if they're on sale, definitely. I think for the 17, they're pretty good. I mean, weight-wise and compact for a 17, 22 air rifle, definitely.
Yeah.
Even if you're close range hunting with higher calibers, they're rated up to, I think, a 308.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to do the distance.
The range, I mean, I think maxing out, really 200 metres.
Yeah.
You definitely can see further. If you've got a high-end laser, you're definitely going to see further. But realistically, for a clear picture, 200 metres max. Yeah.
Peter, the ATN. Okay, so the ATN, the scope itself is about $1,400 at the moment. That's the 5 to 20 version. And then the ABL unit is $400. So you're looking at $1,800, but you do have a lot more features built in. And you can change it between rifles. And the PARD is
around 1,100 by itself, just the unit, or the new version is a built-in rangefinder. So you got 2 of the new versions, the P versions, one without the rangefinder and one with it. The one with it comes with it attached. It's fully attached unit. So 1,100 without it, and I think around 1,500 to 1,600 with it.
Yeah. Then also the other thing, it's obviously it's got its own little onboard IR torch, but honestly, it's only good to about 80 metres.
80 metres max. But if you're air rifling 22, 17 at close range, it's a compact unit. It's all in one. It's great. Yeah. It's light.
And it is light, that's for sure. But yeah, so it just really depends on what you want to do, guys, and where you want to go. It's not that the PARD's bad, because it's a good little unit, and you can't really compare the two because the ATN has a lot more features, but of course it's bigger, heavier, and costs a bit more. But it's got a lot more features. So yeah, that's sort of a bit of a wrap up of our target shooting.